Let's see. Alright guys, we're going to do a live session where I'm helping someone do color change, and I'm just downloading the file right now. So I wanted to go ahead and get live, make sure it's showing for you guys. And hopefully this session will be extremely helpful because I've been getting a lot of requests about color change. And see, Natasha's with us, and I will be working on getting your file sent to you, Natasha. I saw your email. I'm just getting online for the day. Hey, Ivana, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So let me pull up. Oh, you're very welcome, Natasha. Can you hear me okay, Ivana?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And Natasha, since you're on the YouTube end of things, do you hear her and me okay, or is it sound quality really off? Yeah, Ivana, I'm downloading Grandma Shark, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I don't know if your video is playing sound too, but you might have to turn the sound off on the video because I think it would be a little delayed if so. But can you see me on YouTube as well, Ivana?
I'm trying to see, yeah.
Because I'm just displaying my screen.
You have your wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up there first, right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so now I see this is an SVG. Are you trying to edit this in Illustrator or Photoshop?
Photoshop.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a new 13 by 19 document. Is that okay?
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to switch to inches. I'm going to do 13 by 19. I already have a setup for that. 13 by 19 I do 150 pixels per inch so I don't end up with these huge files, and it doesn't try to lay down too much ink with the Epsons. Okay, awesome. So everybody says they can hear? Fine, good deal. So let's see. This is a random project. Let's see if we can tackle it and get it done. Okay, so this is actually an SVG image. I will tell you it's much easier to edit your SVGs in a program like Illustrator, or I think Corel Draw is a SVG program as well. But we will definitely show you how to do it in Photoshop as well, especially if you're just getting used to Photoshop and you kind of want to stick with one program right now. We're going to work with that. So right now, what's the color scheme that you want to work with?
So I want to change this chart to, I want the letters at the bottom to be like a yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and the chart itself to be red.
Okay, so is it kind of consistent where everywhere you see pink, you want it to be red?
Yes.
Okay,
that's right.
So this is a very clean vector file, so that's not going to be hard at all. Let me show you a trick. We're going to go to the magic wand tool, and instead of contiguous, you see up here at the top where contiguous is checked off, I'm going to uncheck that, and then that way when I select the pink color, I created a new layer, and let me Control D to deselect. So I'm on the layer of the artwork. When I select that pink color, you see how it's selected where everywhere pink was? Now that's because I had contiguous turned off. So I'm going to deselect. I'm going to show you what happens when you have contiguous turned on. Contiguous turned on means that everything that's touching that's that color, that's what it's selecting with the magic wand. So again, I'm going to turn it off, deselect. I'm going to turn off contiguous, and I'm going to select all that pink. And then on my new layer, and I'm going to trash that layer I just made, I'm going to show you. I'm going to make a brand new layer. And then we're going to fill that layer with whatever color you want. And it can be any color, because you can go back and do a color overlay later, and you can change that red to blue to purple to anything else down the road. Okay. So let's grab our fill bucket. And we said we're going to do a red. I'll just choose a pure red, and then you can also edit that later down the line. So because I'm on a blank layer, when I go to fill this, it's going to fill everything that I touched. And it's now red. If I go to select and deselect, or if I do Control D, you see how it recolored that image. And I think this font up here was a little bit like of a hand kind of written, kind of messy font anyway. So I don't think that's the fill. I think that's just the font there. But do you see the difference there? Is it showing up for you?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first one. What's the next color you want to change?
So the do, I wanted that like a yellow.
Okay, but you want to keep the bubbles blue though.
No. I just want the whole, the bubbles blue. The bubbles
okay, so
blue.
So now I'm going to show you where. Okay, so we took contiguous off. I'm going to show you if I select the blue, it's going to select the bubbles, right? But I don't want to. Let me show you if I select contiguous and then I would have to select each and every little letter, and that's not what I want to do either. So I'm going to show you a trick for that. We're going to deselect contiguous. I'm going to choose my blue, and then I'm going to grab my selection tool, that's the square marquee with my marching ants. And if you hold down Alt, it becomes a minus sign, right? So now I'm going to take away from my selection by selecting all those bubbles. My bubbles will stay blue, and now I only have the do selected, right?
Okay.
So new layer. We click new layer. We got a fresh new layer, and then we're gonna pour in whatever color we want for that. You said yellow, right? Now is it that yellow like of the star right there, or like a bright yellow?
Yeah, the yellow of the star.
Cool. So we just chose our color picker, and we grabbed that yellow right from that star. And I'm going to show you too, if you already had your paint bucket selected, if you hold down Alt, even though you have paint bucket selected, hold down Alt, you get to grab colors from anywhere in the art. So I'm going to grab that yellow, and I'm on a fresh new layer. I'm not painting on my original layer. Bam, there's your yellow. Okay, what other color do we need to change?
Oh, wow.
It's because you have a vector design, so don't get it twisted. If this was some kind of grungy, like, barely there pixelated bitmap, it wouldn't be this easy. But yeah, you have a good art file. That's why I say trash in is trash out. You have a good art file, you can pretty much do anything to it. So what's that next color?
Okay, and so the orange, I want to change the orange to like the color of the bubble. Okay,
got you. So we're on the layer here. Now, this is going to be interesting because what it's going to do, the orange, you see how there's two different oranges in the fish? So basically, we're going to have to change. Do you want the fish to change the orange to blue?
No, not the fish, just the word.
So what will we do to deselect that fish? Hold down Alt. See, I want you to see on the screen. Does it show you? Matter of fact, let me turn on my little annoying friend here, my little mouse tracker. Once he's activated, I think it helps out a little bit. Okay, so if I hold down Alt, it becomes a minus sign. Do you see it's a minus sign now? So any type of selection tool, any type of masking tool, I have my rectangular and my elliptical marquee. I have a lasso here.
Okay.
All of those are called selection tools. Even your magic wand is a selection tool. You have the quick selection. All of those are selection tools. So if I hold down Alt, any of those tools will take away. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to use, I know you probably know that polygon. I know we used to clicking. I could click, and it deselected them. So that's another method. So now I have only the orange and shark selected. What am I going to do to fill in that layer without affecting my original art.
And you gotta do a new layer?
Right. Create a new layer. And what color are we going to fill this one in? The blue from the bubble?
That one is going to be blue. Yeah, the blue from the bubble.
Okay. So if I have my paint bucket selected right now, you can see the paint bucket, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I pick a color while I'm in the paint bucket mode? What key do I hold down?
Alt.
If I hold down Alt, you see how it changed to a color dropper? Right? No, you're right. You're right. It's Alt.
Oh,
so
okay.
Now,
I just think control number pop up.
I think it's a delay because I was doing control plus just to zoom in. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. Your instinct was correct. You see how it changes from the paint bucket to the eyedropper?
Mm-hmm.
And that's with the click of the Alt. And like I said, you can move it around, or you got vector design, so your colors are very clean. So I pick that blue and then I can drop it on that new layer. It's going to fill in everything on that layer.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
What's next?
Okay. That was it for that one.
That's it? What? Okay, so let me show you a trick now. So you've already pretty much changed the parts that you might want to change to this. I don't know if you want to keep the inside of the glasses pink or, anything like that. But if this is, pretty much your layers, let me show you a trick here. So we'll call this color 1.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Control A. Let's spell color right. Color 1. And then I'm going to call this layer color 2. And I'll call this layer color 3. So every other color will pretty much stay the same. Now what I can do to make this pretty much a template for later, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see. I'm going to do a color overlay as an effect. You see the FX down there? And then for the blend mode, I'm going to put normal. So that'll give me the pure color. And guess what? You have just made an editable color file. So right now we said we wanted red. So let's say you wanted to see what it looks like in a deeper red, a brighter red. You can change it to pink or purple for whoever you need to change it for the next time. And that's it. So I'll keep it the pure red, and then I'm kind of prone to reds that are a little bit deeper and darker. I don't like a fire engine red. It just kind of does something, to my eyeballs. But definitely that. And as a matter of fact, the color of the lobster right there, that's a red I would choose. So I just selected the red from the lobster. And now, if you were going to cut this in vinyl too, that the less colors that you put in something, I'm sure the less complicated it is for those type of things. But yeah, in Photoshop you can make. Now here's another thing. If you wanted to get fancy, I'm not telling you to get fancy, but you have these options here. Now you can throw in a inner. Let's say you want to do an inner shadow. Like you have an option to make it a little bit different than what it looks like originally. So you have inner shadow, you can do a drop shadow, and of course this is in these individual layers. You can also do this to the whole file. But I'm just letting you know that now that you're in Photoshop, you have all these different options that you might not have had before. I love gradient, so instead of a color overlay, you could do a gradient overlay. We'll turn off the color for a second. And now look, you got a faded design here. Fade it from one color to another, or a rainbow, and now you have all those options. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and it's all because you're understanding what these layer effects and these styles do. That's it. So we're gonna change it back to the color. We're gonna change it back to the red, so I won't get you too overwhelmed today. So that's it. That's your red. And we can do the same thing to each of these. So if you want to go back, all I have to do is copy that layer style, and I'm going to paste this layer style. That means that each of those layers now have a color overlay on them. And I'm going to go back just for visualization purpose and make sure that I change those colors back to what we want them to be. But there's technically a color overlay that from now on out, you can take this file and change those colors. And this one was the blue, right? Did I lie? Was it doo-doo-doo blue? Let me see. I guess I can go.
No, it was yellow. Shark, the SHRK was blue.
Okay, cool. So I did it right. But that's it. And then if you want to go back to your original image, you just turn off your visibility for the layers you just affected. Does that make sense to you? Not so scary anymore. Now for the fish. We said we were keeping the fish orange, right? Because it's more like a goldfish. It's gonna stay that color. Okay. No, the little orange fish. I guess it's supposed to be like a goldfish.
Yeah, the little okay. He's gonna stay.
Okay, cool.
He's gonna stay that color.
So that's it.
Okay.
Was there something else?
Girl, I was stressing so bad.
No need to stress over this.
That's crazy.
Let me see if anyone else has any questions about this right now. Anyone else have any questions about color change while we're on this mode? I know I get a lot of questions about color change. Now this one was a clean color change because she has a vector image. So Photoshop is able to get those clean edges and just pretty much paint on top of those colors. If we were changing colors within a photo, let's say how we changed the color of the skirt last night, that was a different story. But I know what you were probably doing. You were probably doing the technique from where we changed the colors of the skirt, where you're playing with the cyans, magentas, and you're changing everything. That is not going to work as well for what you're doing because, for instance, that orange has red and yellow in it. So if you try to manipulate the reds or the yellows, no longer are you just manipulating the words down here. You're manipulating all kind of other stuff that you didn't want to touch, right?
Yeah. So the way that I was trying to do, I was doing doing like a coloring, because I've seen a video on YouTube like coloring, and then change the hue and the saturations, and it was just like screwing up everything.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I was just showing here. I didn't know if you could kind of see these details here with the glasses, nostrils, and all that. But yeah, you can even go in and make a separate layer to make the eyelashes, black if you want them to pop out more, or whatever color, or gray or something like that. But yeah, so you got your details. You can play with that, and now you know.
Okay, now let me make sure I got this right. So the first step you did,
and we'll go. Let's do a replay for those who are just joining us, and just a reiteration for this video. So the first thing that we did, and I want you to walk me through it. What type of selection tool did we use? And I'll hover over it. That's elliptical, polygon, magic wand.
We used the magic wand.
Magic wand, absolutely. And did we have contiguous selected or deselected?
We deselected.
Right, because contiguous is only going to select the pixels that are touching. And we wanted to select the pink first, right?
Right.
So we got that pink selected. It's got the marching ants. We know it's actively selected right now. What do we do next?
We create a new layer. Was that
right? Yep, that's it. Because we don't want to paint on our artwork. Okay, so we created a new layer, and what do we do next?
We went to go choose the color.
Okay, so we can choose the color, or we can go straight to our fill bucket and choose the color from there too. But let's say we're going to choose the color, and what color would you want to choose for that? We chose red, right?
Let's just do red.
Okay, so that's red, and you got what tool do you select next? I almost gave it away.
Hold on. So
what do you want to do?
Red.
Got the color selected.
What do we do next? We had alt something.
Well, we had to be on a certain tool for that alt to work. Right now, we still have the magic wand selected, right? After we have magic wand selected, what do we actually want to do? We want to paint something, right? So usually if we want to paint, we're going to use a few tools. There's a gradient tool, there's a paintbrush tool, and then there's the
The bucket.
The bucket. So let's grab this paint bucket. Now on the paint bucket, it's an active paint bucket, but what I was showing you is you can go Alt and hover over a color and tap it, and it selects that color. That's your new red now. So that's why I was saying when we're in the field.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With my paint bucket, on my thing when I try to go to paint bucket, it says like 3D material. Is that the same thing?
Well, it's because of the way your setup is. If you go up here to Window and Workspace, go ahead and choose like one of these, like Graphic and Web is the one that I have on right now, because different workspaces, if you're on the 3D workspace, it's going to give you that 3D bucket. If you do not see the regular paint bucket, you see this dot right here at the bottom? Those are your continue tools. If you hold it down, you see all of your tools. And what you're probably seeing is, where is the 3D paint bucket? I think I don't even have those options open right now because I'm not in the 3D mode. But there it is, the 3D material drop tool. That's what you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens when
I don't see the regular paint bucket.
You gotta go up here to your workspace and just clean it up sometimes, and just either go to default. That's your default, right? You see the paint bucket on default.
Let's see.
And then
default.
And then
the 3D. Oh, I see paint bucket. Okay.
Or you can go to Graphic and Web. That's the one that I was using just now. And this was a question people had too, like, why don't I see the same tools you have? If you don't see them, and even if you change these workspaces, you still don't see them. If you come down here to Window and you look for, it's called, is it called Paint Bucket? I think it is called Paint Bucket. You should be able to see, like, there's your brushes, you got your layers.
Yeah, I see all that now. Okay. Yeah, I have that. My paint bucket.
And if there's ever anything I'm working on the right hand side, like let's say you don't see your history, you come to here to your window and you tap on history. If it's already available, it'll just open it up for you, like, hey, here it was the whole time, silly. But if it wasn't there, it would make it appear for you. So let's say I like to use glyphs a lot. And this is because, when we have those fancy fonts that have like extra little scrolls and all this stuff that you never get to know, like what letters to type in order to see those. If you hit glyphs, then, hold on, let me close down that. But the glyphs will show you all those extra characters. You see that? So if I had a font that had, let me choose, I think Magnolia Sky is one of those, if I even have. Calm down, sir. Hold on. Let me go to my character. Type in what font I'm looking for. I think this is one that has extra glyphs. But now if I were... Oh, mustache, of course. I don't know why it's pulling that one up. But if I were typing, of course, it would get me into that text. And I could see the glyphs for that particular font. So here are my glyphs for Magnolia Sky. I might not never know like how to do these little dots over an I, like if somebody spells Zoe with the dot over an E or something. That's where these are. So technically, if you're typing, you can double click on one of those glyphs while you're typing, and it'll insert that character in there. Rather than you trying to figure out the combination of keys you have to hit to get that particular letter. Okay. So that's a tip in here too. But these things, as long as you have your generic window selected, if you have essentials or I think the graphic design one, Graphic and Web, those are cool. If you do a lot of like actual painting with your stylus, you might want to be in the painting queue. Or the painting workspace. And then you can make your own workspace. And as soon as you get it how you like it, then you create a new workspace and you keep it just that way. And then that way it's named for you. Every time your computer might, reset or do anything, you can come right back to your new workspace. Okay, so yeah. So if you don't see something that I see, it's more than likely it's your window setup.
Okay.
So that's a good question too. Let me see if anybody else has any questions on this while we're on topic. Now, does it work with CS6? I'm not sure. I used to have CS6 some time ago, but I know that I've been spoiled. I've been on the CC. Well, I haven't been spoiled. I've been paying for it monthly. But I did used to have the CS6 because you didn't have to pay a subscription for it. But you should be able to still go up to your windows and choose your setup. You should also be able to select your colors and change colors. I don't know. I think it does have the contiguous option. So everything that we did today, you should be able to do in CS6. Well, thanks, John Ross. He says I'm his favorite how-to expert. I've been training for this for quite some time. When I was 5 years old, I used to, everything I did, I would have a little show for. So maybe it's paying off finally. And when I would cook, I started cooking when I was 8, so I would have like a little cooking show, and my dad would be like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "The audience, Daddy."
That is cute.
All right. So now, was there another file that you needed help with?
No. So I think that's pretty much it. Because I didn't want to do this whole design in vinyl. I wanted to do sublimation, but I needed to change the color.
Right.
So this is perfect.
That's it. You got
appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you this file back with the edits that we did to it. And let me get rid of this blank layer so you're not confused. And turn all of our new layers back on and deselect. And
one more question before. Can we go over how did you turn it into a template again?
Okay, great. That is a good question. So let's say we just did our fill bucket and we just painted all of this red. So I'm going to clear this layer style so that it doesn't have any layer style to it right now, this red. Now, what I'm doing when I make it editable for the future, I'm thinking of how can I use this in the future without having to go in and pick my colors every time and use my fill bucket every time. I'm going to right click.
Right.
Or as a matter of fact, just go down here to your FX. So you have your FX and just keep it simple. Do a color overlay for just that layer. And just that layer will change.
Okay.
And you'll see. For the future, you can make that whatever. Somebody can send you a pair of Nikes and you can be like, okay, that's that color blue, and then that's the color magenta, or whatever you see. You can pretty much pick in here and change those colors as a color overlay. Now you do want to make sure, as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you here, as soon as you come onto the artboard, you don't even have to hit Alt. It's automatically the color dropper. So now I can select that red from the lobster or the crab. That's a crab, right? And say okay, and it's selected that color. Now your blend mode, you want to make sure is on normal, so it will be the pure color. Otherwise, you get some, kind of crazy combination of whatever color is beneath it. So we'll just make sure it's on normal.
Where's the blend mode at?
Right when you select color, every version of the style that you can create has a blend mode. And right now it's got red underneath it. Right. So let me show you. I'll show you what blend mode does. So let's say I selected blue, right? If the red is underneath it and normal, it's going to knock out all the color below it. But if I change it to multiply, that blue is now on top of that red and it's created some kind of other effect. And you don't really know what colors do when you do these blend modes. But it's popular to do whenever you have let's say for instance you have a pattern or a print or something you want to apply. That's what's cool. You can actually take a pattern, and now I have this little leaf pattern, and that's technically clipped into my image.
Oh.
And you can create your own patterns, or you can even clip images now that you have these pieces done. You see how powerful that is? So I'm going to turn back on my color overlay. I'm going to make it back to normal, and then I'm going to make sure I choose that red again so we stay consistent. And now you know how we were talking about clipping images into anything? I'm just going to show you something real quick. Let's say you wanted to do a cool galaxy shark or something. I thought I had a galaxy image. Usually have something. Here we go. Well, we got the Harriet Tubman 20. I was doing a project for that for Black History. Let's drop that in. I don't know if that would be what they want on their chart, but we're just going to use this. They might want money. You know how your customers are going to come to you with the randomness. So now that you have this little section created, right, you can right click, create a clipping mask. And of course, what we're going to have to do is go into this effect and tell it that even though it has a color overlay, we want to turn everything on but that middle one, or that second one. And now, ta-da, my image is clipped inside of that.
Oh Lord, it sure is.
Yeah. And then in here you can, I mean, you might have to do multiple monies or multiple dollars just to fill out that space. But everywhere that you have that color, you have the option to fill it with that pattern. Or it's not even a pattern, it's just an image, but you filled it.
Right.
And that's just by creating a clipping mask. So anything that you pull on top of it, now that it's like a puzzle piece. You created that little section, and now you can manipulate that section and you can isolate that section. Whether it be with color, gradients, like say you could drop like a galaxy, background in there, anything you can think of.
Okay. All right. Thank you, love. I really appreciate this, Shanon.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So I'm sure this helped a lot of other people too. So guys, I'm probably going to be logging off for a little bit. I'll probably do a little bit of my work live today. So just stay tuned. If you have your notification bell on, it should be notifying you when I get on live. If it's not doing that, let me know what's happening with that. But I'll be on live getting random work done today. So y'all feel free to log in and check me out.
All right. Thank you, girl.
All right. You're welcome, love. I'll talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And YouTube, I do have, I'm actually doing some color change on this one, but I can't show you the photos on that one because we're doing it pretty much more confidential because the client that I'm doing it for doesn't really want it to be out there like that. So I am doing some color change, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up this color change. And let me show you what we started with. So we started with our gradient colors in this template, which I should be making this one available today. But the idea is that she wanted to go with more like a olive green, kind of army green color. So I just changed the gradients here. That's it. That's all I have done is change the gradients, and it looks like a whole nother design. But I'm going to go ahead and finish pulling in the image for that one. Or the images. So I'm going to take a break. Then I can submit that to the client, and then I'll be back. All right, loves, I will check you in just a little bit.